learning from you.
Great, thank you so much. So thank you, Nicole, for planning this for us and putting this together. I think this is a great way for everyone to just share ideas and share what we've learned or what has worked in our own counties. So I'm Rachel Painter, and I am an extension agent in Rutherford County, Tennessee, which is on this map where Murfreesboro is. So we are the 4th largest county population-wise in Tennessee, and we are considered metro, a very urban county. A lot of our people drive to Nashville to work when they're still working. Of course, our Master Gardener group is made up of a lot of retired individuals. And we also have a large university here, Middle Tennessee State University. So I have a lot of retired professors and very smart people in our group. So that's a great resource for me. We also have students that are interested in plant sciences that come to programs and things like that. So again, we are a very metro county, suburban, urban county, but just south and east of us is very rural. So we have a lot of people in those counties surrounding us that do not have a Master Gardener program that drive here. Either they work here during the day in Murfreesboro or they drive here for meetings. So we have a large reach for our group. Here in Tennessee, all counties that have a Master Gardener program have an agent, so a university employed individual that is the coordinator. So we are not led by a volunteer. So everyone has a coordinator that coordinates with the university standpoint with their Master Gardeners. We do have Master Gardener groups that, of course, are called an association, and then they have a board. So it's very much an agent working with a volunteer board and a volunteer association. Here in Rutherford County, I have about 130 Master Gardeners, which we are, I think, the 6th largest Master Gardener group in our state. Memphis on this map, lower left-hand corner, is Shelby County, Tennessee, and they are the largest Master Gardener group in Tennessee with about 500 volunteers. After that is Davidson County, which is Nashville, and I believe they have around the 250 range. And then it goes down from there with, of course, Knoxville and Chattanooga, and then us here in Murfreesboro. So again, I work for the University of Tennessee. We also partner with our 1890s institution, TSU here. So some Master Gardener coordinators work for Tennessee State University, some work for UT Knoxville, but our state coordinator, Natalie Baumgartner, is housed in Knoxville. So all of that background to say that we started a growth team, which is a team approach to mentoring and retention here in Rutherford County. And now we have actually implemented that in other counties as well, and it is growing great. So that is what I'm here to share with you today, is our growth team model. Oh. Well, start over. So the big idea is that obviously as an agent or a coordinator, you know that recruiting and retention is a big deal in the Master Gardener program or any volunteer program for that matter. So recruiting takes a lot of effort, and that is not going to happen from one person. So all the help that you can get in recruiting new volunteers is going to be helpful. And if you have a team of people to be working on that, all the better, because they have their own circle of influence, their circle of friends, and their community, which is even smaller than just your county or your area that you reach. So if they are telling their friends about it, or they're influencing or reaching those people in their circle, and all of those circles can overlap, then that is even better than just one agent or coordinator trying to recruit. And that is even further than just setting up at farmers markets or things like that. This is actually, taking a flyer, talking to people, more than just going to, your farmers market or something like that, and just setting up and sharing horticulture information. This is, actual efforts to recruitment. Retention is also a big deal, and that is not going to happen from one person either. So retention is because someone feels, why does retention happen? Because that person feels like they matter and that people notice that they are there. So retention is obviously, again, very important because the cost of training a new person to take that person's place is high. The time and effort to recruit and bring on board a new person instead of keeping someone that's already trained is also a big deal from the agent standpoint, the entire extension office standpoint, and our other volunteers. So if we put a lot of influence and effort into our interns, which is what we call our new trainees, then we want to keep them. We don't want to have to keep putting all of this effort into new people and then them leave us. So again, retention is a very big deal. I'm sure you know that. And then of course, year after year, these individuals gain more knowledge. So we want to keep them around. So if those things are very important, then what can we do about it? So again, a lot of people might have a mentor program, a one-on-one mentor program. That was not working here in Rutherford County when I came on 4 years ago. And so I started to look at, what could we do differently? If this is not working, obviously, then what can we change? So we did have a growth team. It was already called a growth team when I got here. And those members, to start with, were only to help plan the intern or the trainee class. That's not really necessary or needed. They were mostly just showing up and being happy and excited that new interns were there, which is helpful. But I figured, why not take it a step further? Because we can't just show up and be happy that they're here. We need to guide them along for the entire process until they become certified. And then after they become certified, help them find their niche so that they stick around. So we changed the purpose of the growth team and added some more members. And so when I came on, we changed that purpose. And now our growth team members are charged with mentoring and guiding new interns, engaging our volunteers intentionally. And I use that word intentionally a lot because you can just go engage with volunteers and be like, hey, I'm glad you're here. But if you intentionally do that and learn this person's name and help match them with projects in your group and encourage friendships between, Sally and Sam, because they both love mushrooms or hydrangeas, then they're much more likely to stick around rather than just showing up and saying, hey, and being a smiling face. So be intentional, number one. And then spur on those individuals that come in through your intern class or your trainees that show signs of leadership that might be great for leadership positions in the future. Those that are very encouraging to their fellow members, maybe they might even be a new growth team member in the future. Just be intentional about recognizing your new trainees and your other members' strengths and what they might be able to be plugged into in the future. Our growth team members also do a big job of recognizing volunteer efforts. So they will take photos and post them on our social media page and, do a shout out. Thank you so much, William, for coming out here and working on this garden. It's looking great. Or giving special awards at the end of the year that they have voted on. So recognition from their peers is very important. So it's one thing if I recognize a volunteer for doing a good job, but it is even more meaningful, I believe, for their fellow members to recognize them. That means that I don't have to be everywhere all the time recognizing people, and they feel like what they're doing matters. So how do you join the team? We have a document here on the right that shows, what is the key requirement and responsibility of being on the growth team, and what do they do? This document is just to give them some ideas and, some kind of formality to it. I wouldn't say it goes into any kind of depth or anything, but I have it here again for formality so that they know the requirements, they know it's expected. But I also will say that the people that you're looking for on a growth team are typically what we call here in Tennessee our blue personalities, if you are familiar with the colors test. And blue personalities are very emotional and encouraging, and they do not do well with strict rules. So I would try to make it as open and exciting and encouraging as possible, instead of making it like a gold personality, which is me. Very to the point, this is what we're doing, here's the steps. So again, this is coming from my gold personality side of this is what we're doing and here's the steps. That does not necessarily translate to the people that are on your growth team typically. So again, my input, if you're starting a growth team, try to be as open as possible instead of making it as rules-based as your typical board members might be. So to make a growth team or to start a growth team, number one, I don't care what you call it. It doesn't have to be a growth team. You can even let those individuals come up with a name together. That might be helpful so that they feel like they have a say. So again, call it whatever you want it to be, but I do suggest it call, a team or something like that instead of a committee, because again, you want them to feel like they are a team, they are working towards this common goal, and committee seems a little bit too structured. So growth team is what we call it. And how do you identify those members? So I would suggest a personality test of your members if you have a large group, because some of your individuals, if you have a large group, you might not know that they have those strengths or that they would be interested in joining something like this, because they might typically kind of hide in the background. So again, these members are not necessarily your board members, or not necessarily your members that are getting up and, volunteering for things and in the spotlight. A lot of the time, these members are, again, very encouraging, very aware of people's emotions, and they might be in the background. So if you have a large group and you're not very familiar with them, or if you are new to this role, then a personality test is a very good place to start. There are very simple ones online. You could do them online, send them on, to them online, or you can print them off and do them in an in-person meeting. Again, the colors test is very simple and short. So that can be very helpful, a good place to start. Then you can meet with those people individually and talk to them about what you're trying to start, a growth team, whatever you want to call it, and just say, I would like to start, a mentor retention group, and I wanted to talk to you to see if you might be interested. What are your ideas? Again, meeting with them individually really helps you get their feedback. They trust you because you've met with them individually and taken your time to meet with them individually and heard all of their ideas. So then when you meet with them as a group next, it can be fun. Everybody can be brainstorming ideas. I would even encourage you to get some candy on the table or cookies, or maybe have some coffee or something like that. Again, it should be fun and laid back and relaxed. And when they meet as a group, you've already heard all of their individual ideas or what they think could be improved. So when you meet as a group, if someone's not speaking up, you can say, hey, Sharon, you had some great ideas about this. I would love for you to share those with the group. And, you're not really putting them in the spotlight because you're all sitting around together in a room, but it's a great way to make sure that their voice is heard. Then narrow those down to a few simple action steps to take on. So maybe they want to start having some social events to get people, more involved and engaged and having fun. Maybe they want to recognize volunteers more often at each meeting. Maybe they want to post on social media or start a social media page to post on, just to share about what their group is doing. So come up with whatever brainstorming ideas they come up with to help with retention, number one. And, put those all up on a board, write them down, and then narrow those down to the most important. Maybe they vote on those really quickly and say, you know, this is what I think is most important for us to start doing today. You know, these other ideas, we're going to start those next year. So get everyone on the same page of what is most important. This is what we're starting, so that everyone isn't scattered all over the place, starting different retention efforts. And then you need to hold regular meetings with this growth team and make sure they feel like all of them are valued, their input and ideas are valued, and that this is fun. So again, this is for engagement and retention. It should be fun, because if it's not fun, no one wants to do it. These are volunteers at the end of the day. They aren't being paid to be here. And so you have to make it fun. Would you be involved in the same group you're asking them to be involved in? Is always a question I want to go back to. So again, if this was a group out here in the community, would you want to go be involved in it? And if it's not, change something up. Because I promise you, if you don't want to be involved, a lot of other people probably don't either. So again, consider that every now and then. So take a step back and think about what can we change up, or what do we need to change? And then, you know, discuss those as a group. So it should be open, and everyone should feel valued. And then again, after you have this team rolling and things are happening, remember to add new interns to the group. So we typically add 2 interns per year. We don't always add 2. Sometimes it's 1. One year it was 3. But those are, we discuss those as a group, as a growth team. We say, of these new interns, who do we think would be a great addition to our team? Some of the older members, older as in been on the growth team for a while, step down if they feel, you know, like that's necessary. And that way we can make room for new people. So it's more like they're just rotating off. And then those members are asked by our current growth team members that know them best. So we'll say, hey, I really think we should add Sarah to this team. And Gloria says, I really want to be the one to ask her. So it's a great way to invite a new member. We do that at a monthly meeting. And, you know, the growth team will get up there and say, you know, this is what we've done so far this year. If you have any ideas, please let us know. If you're interested in joining us, please let us know. So it's not like a clique. Other members can join if they want to, but we specifically ask 2 new interns, because if you were asked, you are much more likely to do it if you are straight up asked, instead of just saying to the world, hey, come join us if you want to. So again, start with personality test, find out who are your blue people, and move from there. Our growth team members also interview our interns. So this is their first point of contact with a master gardener as an intern. So the interns apply, and again, that's our word for trainees. They apply to become a master gardener and take our training course. And I say, thank you for your application. You will be hearing from a master gardener soon. And then that application copy, you know, into my computer, and then it is sent to one of our growth team members. So the growth team member gets this application and it says, you know, Sally applied to become a master gardener. And they then have 2 weeks to call this person, to hear back from them, and to have an informal interview. So they simply call, and you can see here on the screen here, you know, here is the interview page. And again, this is my personality coming out so that they know exactly what they should be going over. If they feel overwhelmed calling this person they've never talked to before, then they have this to go by, but they do not have to follow this word for word by any means. And they can just have a conversation with this person. So it really helps to have a master gardener be that first point of contact. That person is, the intern trainee is told to save their number. You know, here's my phone number, here's my email, reach out if you have any questions. They might even explain their experience of becoming a master gardener, what they love about the program. They go over all of the expectations of an intern trainee. And again, this just really helps our incoming interns know what they're getting into, number one, and feel like they already have a friend in the group. So when they show up at orientation day, which is their first in-person intern thing they come to, they see someone that they have already talked to besides me. So again, this is our page for an interview. Yours doesn't have to look like this. This is a lot of detail. But again, the growth team members have this in their hands when they're calling this new intern, just to make sure if the conversation stalls or if they don't know what to say all of a sudden, that they have something to talk about. And again, their purpose is not just for interns. Their purpose is for all of our members, to keep them engaged, make sure they matter, make sure they know that they're encouraged to be here and that people want them here. So everyone wants to be wanted, and the growth team is there to make sure that they know that. So the growth team members encourage interns and other members to come on fun events, fun outings, go to things that, you know, UT offers, just to go do things together. So our growth team members encouraged our other members to come to one of our intern outings, which was a wildflower walk for identification of trees and wildflowers in early spring. And, you know, that was one of our groups. This is from 2019. Don't worry, these photos are all not from now, not wearing masks. So caveat to that. And then in West Tennessee, which is about 5 hours away, our members invited, you know, interns and other members to go enjoy summer celebration, which is at one of our UT gardens. And it's just a big fun day event. And so we had about 25 members all drive to West Tennessee, 5 hours away, to go to this because the growth team said, hey, this is going on, we should all go. So again, growth team is a great way for your members to all go do things together, get to know one another, and take some of that burden of encouraging and engaging all of your members off of the coordinator. And remember to have a balance of fun and education. So we know master gardeners are here to educate the community, but if they don't feel comfortable with each other, they're not going to do a good job educating the community. So they have to learn from one another, feel like they're a part of this group before they're really willing to get up and stand in front of a group and talk, or go to a farmer's market with someone to share or teach, or go, you know, help at any kind of event. So until they feel like they're engaged and a part of this program, they aren't going to feel willing to stand up and take on a leadership role. So remember to balance the fun with the education. So you can see here, we drove to Knoxville, which is about 4 hours away, in the top left photo, and went to see the dean. So make sure you're putting your master gardeners out there in front of your university's leadership. Make sure that they remember that master gardeners are here. They are stakeholders. They serve a lot of hours and put a lot of effort into our programs, and make sure that they feel very connected to your university. So that's number one, help them feel connected to your university. In the top right photo, we have our annual plant swap, which again, this was not last year or this year. So this is a 2019 photo, but again, they're all engaged, having fun. And I promise you, you would, if you knew these individuals, you wouldn't think that they would all be excited here together. They are all at different stages of life, different backgrounds. And again, the growth team has really helped pull together our group. The bottom left, the growth team actually coordinated a day going kayaking. So that's always fun. There were 3 of our members that had never been kayaking before. It was on their bucket list. So again, the Master Gardener program is helping some of these individuals get out of the house and have somebody to go do something with. So remember that, you know, they might want to go kayaking. They might want to go have a paint night. They might want to go out to eat with friends. Whatever that is, if they feel more comfortable with their fellow members, they're much more likely to be willing to raise their hand and volunteer to go help with a project or a program where they might be putting themselves out there a little bit more. And then in the bottom right, one of our tours at one of our gardens across the state. So again, balance the work and fun and take photos, because after we did these things, we posted how fun it was And those that did not join us felt left out. And that's on purpose because we want them to feel left out so that they join us next time. So fear of missing out is real. Make those others feel it so that they will be engaged next time around, and encourage them. Say, next time we do something fun, make sure you come along with us. Again, individuals want to have a purpose. Typically, planning social events, encouraging members, calling members up doesn't really qualify as Master Gardener hours, or doesn't, isn't seen as valuable as some of the hard labor. But not everyone has to be out there digging up weeds. So calling people up, encouraging them, inviting people to things, making sure people feel like they're a part of the program or that we missed you because you weren't here is just as valuable to your organization, to your association, as digging up weeds. And calling it a team gives value to those efforts and makes these people feel like they're not the only one doing it. So I want to repeat that. Individuals want to have a purpose. You giving this a team or a group effort makes them know that what they're doing matters and is valuable to your organization. So the individual mentor program one-on-one, if it's working in your county, leave it alone. But if it's not, it's probably because those one-on-one mentors feel like reaching out to that intern is weird, or that it's not, very valuable to the program or whatever. And that person probably feels like, oh, I probably shouldn't reach out to this person. I'm going to be bugging them. But if they have a team, they have a sheet with photos of our growth team members with their phone number, their email. It tells them how they like to be contacted. Text me, email me, call me, whatever they want to be contacted by. And if you, give that to the interns and to the rest of the group, they know that they can call any of those growth team members at any time, whatever's going on. Hey, I really want to go to this, but I don't want to go alone. Can I carpool with you? Hey, are you going to that? Yep, come on, go with me. So it's just a way for them to feel like they're not alone. So if you're a data person like me, my degree is actually in agriculture economics, and I like data. So when I started this position, I started in 2017. And in 2016, I looked at our retention numbers. So those were the ones that were trained right before I got here. And 32% stayed on. So we trained 19 people and only 6 people got their hours to become certified, to become a Master Gardener. And I said, wow, that is a lot of effort for people to just leave. So in 2017, again, that is when I came on, started looking at these numbers and said, what can we do about this? And changed the purpose of the growth team. And we retained 50% of our intern trainees. In 2018, which was really when our efforts began full steam ahead, we retained 83%. So we only lost 4 people. 2 of those people moved away. So not my fault. And then in 2019, again, 73% isn't 83%, but we retained 16 out of 22 interns. So I think that's great results. If I had 2020 numbers here, we let some of those interns roll over because our project hours were really cut less than in half because everything shut down for COVID. But I will say we had an in-person meeting Monday night, and we had around 40 people there, which is half of what we would normally have. But over half of those people that showed up were trained in 2020 or 2021. So they are coming, they feel engaged. The growth team members reached out to those members and said, hey, I'm going to the association meeting. I would like for you to join me. They felt individually, contacted about this meeting, asked individually to come, which is a very big deal. And so again, I think that's very important. And you as the agent or the coordinator do not have time for that. That's it. At the end of the day, you don't have time to physically call all these people. And even if you did, that's the agent or the coordinator or the person that's up here in charge calling these people. And that's not who they need. They need a friend, a peer on their same level, calling them and inviting them to things. So if you are a data person, this has proven to work, even in other counties besides my own. But if you need numbers to back you up, I have them and I'm happy to send them to you. So again, if you want to take a screenshot with your phone or something real quick, this is how you can incorporate a growth team, and all the steps just put out again. And these are some of our members, again, growth team members inviting other members to come with them to project days, to things in general. So again, I have about 130 master gardeners total in Rutherford County, and we have 9 growth team members. So we started with 7. We always invite, interns each year, and some roll off. Again, we don't have to ask them. We just say, hey, if you feel like you've put in your time here, feel free to move on. You're so welcome to join us at things, but I don't want you to feel like you have to stay here forever. So a lot of them step down just after they've been on the growth team for a couple of years or so. So again, this is a team approach to mentoring and retention. And this is just some more, things that we do. Again, interviewing, reaching out to members that are sick or haven't been around. They'll even, drop something off at their house if they need to. So, hey, I missed the meeting. Oh, okay, I got you this. I'll bring it by your house, or I'll meet you at the gardens and I'll go over it with you. They plan our summer social. So in June each year, we don't have an association meeting that is, our typical with a speaker. We go do something fun. And we might have it at a member's house in their garden. We might go to a garden around here and have a meal. We might go do something else fun, just go have dinner somewhere. It doesn't have to be anything super special, but the growth team plans that, advertises it to our members, and plans other social activities as well. Again, here's some of the ideas for day trips is what we call them. And I do give volunteer hours for these events because, again, this is just as important as doing some of the hard labor that they do in our demonstration gardens. So, you can talk to your state coordinator on how your hours work in your county or in your state, but I do assign certain volunteer hours to all of our day trips or our social events so that people feel that there is value in coming to those. And again, those hours are very important to your program, letting your volunteers get to know one another. We don't want it to become a garden club by any means, but there is value in getting to know one another, feeling comfortable with your group, and feeling like you're a part of something. Here's some more fun. So the growth team members, for the interns, when they finished their classes, they made a graduation night. I brought my graduation gowns from UT, where I went to college, and they could put those on and take a photo if they wanted to, or we hung them on the wall there just for a fun photo so that they felt like they accomplished something. And again, garden visits, farm visits, wildflower walks, we do it all. And it really takes a lot of the burden of planning those things off of the agent or the coordinator. I have other job responsibilities than just, planning social events for master gardeners. And it's much more likely that they're willing to go if their friend put in all the effort to plan this rather than their agent. So I would encourage you to get a growth team if you don't have one and see what they're capable of. Again, they went to a local high school and saw other plants before they were ready to sell and visited with those students and just encouraged those students. So that was really fun. That's one of the high school ag teachers with the master gardeners in the top left. In the top right, they went to one of our master gardener conferences together. And that's one growth team member with 3 of our master gardeners, 2 interns and 1 existing member. In the bottom left, we played a game. This is called a Mingle Game. And it was actually taken from a 4-H activity, which you would think master gardeners would roll their eyes at, but they had so much fun, and they keep, wanting different games like this. So this is just an example of what those look like. So you make up short questions, which are in the bottom right here. And I had about 50 different questions, and some of them were printed twice. So again, you chop those up, the master gardeners cut those up for us. And everyone starts by raising their hand, and you find someone else that has their hand raised. You ask your question, they answer you. They ask their question and you answer, and then you switch cards. After you've switched cards, you raise your hand again, and you find someone else that has their hand raised. So it's a big mingle game. They get to know one another. The questions aren't, super in-depth, but they are a little bit, thought-provoking. And some of them are even funnier, like, tell me your best joke. So some of them are pretty funny. Some of them are more in-depth. And again, it's just a fun way to get them involved. I definitely played that before COVID. I don't know how that would work right now with COVID, with switching cards and mingling around, but hopefully maybe the world will get back to normal one day and we can start playing things like Mingle Games. Again, this is just how you can put it into action. And I like to call my Master Gardener growth team shepherds or sheepdogs, because they herd the group together towards a common goal. So they always laugh when I say that, but it's true. I think that they are sheepdogs herding the group together. Again, this is one of our awards nights, and they had to come up with, the growth team put together that they would wear funny hats, and they voted on who had the best hat. So let your growth team come up with funny things to do. I promise you can make meetings more fun and exciting, and they really get into it. So it's just something fun to be a part of. And now, I hope she's on here. I want to quickly call on Diane Grew from the University of Minnesota. If she's on here, you can unmute and just share a little bit about how the University of Minnesota has implemented this, what you've seen happen so far.
Oh my gosh, you're totally putting me on the spot. And I love it. It's good to see you, Rachel. You made such a difference for us last year. We had our biggest recruitment year ever statewide. I am kind of the policy and procedures person on our state team in Minnesota. And I work with Jackie Fremming, who's also here. She does a lot with public value. Christy Marson is the extension educator. Tim Kennedy's the state director. Delisha Davis is a project manager. So we have an amazing team in place, but we really were struggling with the number of interns who were coming into the program. I mean, COVID, I think, was a time when everyone wanted to get their hands dirty and wanted to work on local food initiatives and things like that. So a couple of our groups had significant growth in numbers. And so we were trying to figure out, how are we going to handle these interns? Because the typical approach was one-on-one mentoring, and groups were running out of mentors who could work one-on-one with all the interns. So you just share this idea with us. A number of the groups have tried it out. Some kind of tested the waters with the combination, and now it was so successful, the growth team, that they're moving to 100% team approach. So yeah, I can't thank you enough. You've really been invaluable. We're still trying to work with some other groups who are suffering from those growing pains and seeing, proposing this kind of an idea, and we hope that it will work. I mean, there is a little bit of we've done it this way for many years, and it's hard for us to change, and we're not sure it's working. So, I did ask that question in the chat before. What were you going through when your group was having trouble with the one-on-one mentoring? What were some of the issues that you ran into that kind of led to this growth team approach?
So when I came on, I did short little interviews with some of our members that have been here for a long time. So some of our members have been here for 21 years in the Master Gardener program. So we have a kind of a long-time program here in Rutherford County compared to some other counties in Tennessee. And so I met with them and said, again, I have an economics background, so I like SWOT analysis. And I said, what's working? What's not working? And almost every single one of them said the mentor program was not working. And so I would say, why? Why is that not working? And they said, it's very hard to match up a current member with all of your coming in interns that have time to contact them regularly, that are going to the same things. You know, we might have a current member matched up with that works full time and is only available on Saturdays, matched up with an intern that is retired and wants to come to stuff during the week. We don't know that. You know, I have a questionnaire on the interns application, but it's really hard to match up current members with those that are coming in when you really don't know them yet. No matter how many questions you ask on a questionnaire, you're not going to be able to perfectly match these people up with a current member. Then you have current members that are, again, what we call blue personalities here in Tennessee, that are super encouraging and awesome and, you know, have all the time in the world to contact their intern trainee and are contacting them twice a week and are like, hey, I want you to come, you know, with me to this. And to some of the intern trainees, that's weird. Or, you know, the other ones get jealous because they say, my mentor has only contacted me once and yours is calling you twice a week. What is that about? Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah, right. So then they feel like they don't matter, or they feel like we don't really want them there as much as that person or something like that. Some of our mentors for the intern class were getting, you know, small gifts like seeds or a vegetable plant and bringing it to intern class and saying like, I got this for you. You know, I was shopping for myself and I got this for you. And the rest of the interns would be like, well, I didn't get any seeds. I haven't even heard from my mentor. So again, number one, it's very hard to match people up. Number two, the level of interest in being a mentor is very hard to replicate for all of your mentors. And just because somebody might match up very well with a personality with an intern doesn't mean that they really want to be a mentor. So just because these two people really both love mushrooms doesn't mean that Brad's going to be a good mentor, you know, to Sean. So I think that that's really important to make sure that it doesn't matter what their interest in gardening is as much as you think. They just have to be very encouraging and be willing to reach out to these people and invite them to things. It's that personality. It doesn't have anything to do with their interest necessarily.
Well, I could just talk your ear off, Rachel. I've got a million questions. One thing that was really obvious to me in your presentation was the importance of fun. Yes. I feel like mentors are really concerned about, you know, making sure that volunteers are reporting hours, you know, like the rules, making sure that they're making progress. But I guess I just, what really came to light for me is you have to have fun in there too. And I know it's been really challenging with COVID, but you know, something to keep in mind. I mean, at least for me. So yes. Thank you. I could, like I said, talk your ear off. Appreciate your information. So I'm sure there are lots of other questions that folks have too.
Yes. And I'm seeing those in the chat. So I'll go through some of those. Encouraging friendship and social gatherings has been challenging during the pandemic, of course, for everyone. So tips on encouraging relationship building now. I would say I gave hours to our growth team members to straight up call other members. So I said, you know, I don't care how many hours it takes, you just start calling each other. So they would pick up the phone and call another master gardener and say, hey, I just wanted to check on you and see how things are going. You know, how have you been? What's your garden doing right now? And I promise you, I heard so many good things back from that. They were like, wow, so-and-so called me and it was great. We just caught up, you know? So we did that a lot during COVID. Then we also planned just smaller gatherings. So we have gardens here on site at my office that our master gardeners manage. So it's outside. We have a pavilion with picnic tables. You know, they would say, hey, I'm going to be at the pavilion at 9 a.m. on Saturday. If you want to join me, I'll be there, you know, working in the gardens. that's about as good as you're going to get for an in-person safe thing to do. So they would do that a lot. And then again, we did Zoom meetings all through COVID. So as soon as COVID hit, I didn't care that these master gardeners didn't know how to use Zoom very well. We were already using Zoom for statewide things, but not really for our monthly meetings or anything like that. And I said, hey, I am here to teach you how to use Zoom. This is my job, and I will work through it with you. And some of our growth team members that are great with technology said, I'm here too. You know, they have Zoom accounts. So they said, we're going to practice. If you've never been on Zoom before, please let me know. And we just did individual little Zoom sessions, training them. I said, click around. If we get kicked out of this thing, we'll send you a new link. Like it'll be fine. So just taking the fear out of that. And yes, people are very tired of Zoom now, but it still can help you communicate very well. And it was kind of fun. So we did some fun little things on our Zoom meetings too, like show me your best house plant. So they would show up on Zoom and they would be holding a house plant and like, this is my house plant, you know. So make it fun. Zoom, you know, also allows you to be inside that person's house or on their porch or in their garden, depending on how good with technology they are and moving around. But a lot of mine would be, you know, with their kids in the garden on the Zoom talk. And so it'd be like, here's our tomato, everybody. So just make it fun. Zoom doesn't have to be boring. Let's see, what else real quick? I know we're running out of time. Our intern class is about 20 people each year. I don't cap it. That's just what happens. Again, we have about 130 members here in Rutherford County, and they have many different projects. They go teach at the library, the senior center. We have 2 farmers markets that they set up at 3 times a week. We have 9 demonstration gardens here on site, a vineyard and orchard, lots of things for them to do to reach the public. But again, we advertise it on the radio and the newspaper for our intern class. And then the growth team takes flyers to places around town. So again, a growth team can really help you take some of that advertising burden off of yourself if you were doing that by yourself. Let's see.
Yeah, Rachel, I just want to comment on Anna's question. She had a question about the True Colors assessment, and I think that you have to purchase that, correct?
There's like a free version online.
Okay, so get the free version.
And you can just print it off, and it's just like not that many questions, but that's what I did. I didn't pay for anything. So you can just print off a True Colors test, and they can take it in person. If you want them to be able to take the online version, I think you do have to pay for that.
Then there's a charge.
Yeah, some universities already have personality tests that they pay for. So definitely reach out to your university somehow, I don't know, HR, and ask them if they have a personality test that your university is already paying for. I promise you they probably do. So,
and a few people asked in the chat, what do you recommend as a good number of people to have on your growth team?
So mine, I guess, is about 10% or a little bit more than my total group. So I don't know, but I would just say start with the people. So you don't have to have this huge group, but it's also not very small either. So I would just find the people that you want on that team, that are willing to be on that team. And that's what's more important. So mine has ranged from 7 people up to 13 this entire time. It doesn't matter. It's more about the people that are on the team. So
yeah, and I was thinking too, when you were talking, you could even make it expand into your office culture. So you could even have staff members, program assistants, as well as Master Gardener volunteers and advisory committee members on the growth team.
Yes, I don't care who's on the growth team. They just have to be willing to encourage and engage your members. And again, I have 2 members on the growth team that happen to actually also be on the board, but these are not necessarily your go-getter, this is what we're doing personalities. These people on the growth team just from a personality standpoint, are very like, lovey-dovey, you know, like I really care about this person. And that's not me. So to have people that are doing that, that is really helpful, at least for me. So if you're a goal personality, which is again like a this is what we're doing, this is the expectation, and I'm going to excel at it no matter what the cost, that is probably not a growth team member. It is the people that really love, you know, to contact other people and get other people engaged and care about other people's feelings and want to make sure everyone feels valued. And, you know, I think that's really important to play on our strengths. So if you as an agent, if that's not your strength, then let those other people do what they're good at.
Yeah, and I want to comment, Alyssa was talking about, you know, how during the pandemic, it's been difficult to build those relationships. And she was asking for comments on ways to encourage friendship, social gatherings, and relationship building. So I would actually recommend, you know, just doing an informal survey with your volunteers, because we did one recently in Hillsborough County where we were trying to determine how comfortable people are with various volunteer activities. And we weren't asking specific questions, just do you want to do in-person, remote, small groups? You know, what are your preferences? And then I sort of felt like I should be doing more because it's a pandemic, people are disconnected. So I asked the question, what suggestions do you have for engaging volunteers and doing activities, especially during COVID? I actually got back very few suggestions, and most people felt that we were doing a good job as we were. So sometimes maybe we think we're not doing enough and we need to do more, but you could ask your volunteers and they could give you feedback.
Yes, I will say I do at least an annual survey just on Qualtrics sent to my volunteers. And I ask them, you know, they're not on the growth team, but I say to everyone, you know, what could we be doing well? What are we already doing well? Basically a SWOT. What could we be doing better? You know, how can we engage new people? How do you think we can reach new people? You know, those kinds of things. So I think it is very important to, again, do a survey. You can also just ask that at a meeting, depending on how large your group is, to have discussion. But I think that a lot of people don't like surveys, but they do like to know that their voice can be heard and that they had an opportunity to share their input. So a survey is a great way to offer that.
And I did see in the chat too that Dennis recommended strength finders. So that's something else that we can look into. And then we've got a few others.
Sorry, sometimes your 4-H department probably has a personality test or some kind of game icebreaker thing that is about personality test. So even reach out to, you know, your 4-H department, see if they have anything like that. So might seem childish. I've learned that things that I thought that the Master Gardeners would hate because they would think it would be childish, they actually had a lot of fun doing. So the growth team is a really great way for me to kind of bounce that off of them and say, hey, I found this. Like, how do you think people are going to react to this? And then they can be like, oh, that'll be fun. Or no, Rachel, like definitely not. So a growth team is also a very good way to bounce ideas. Any other questions?
Questions or comments or discussion of what you're doing well or what you might need help with? You're definitely welcome to unmute your phone or your computer and share your screen or share your video.
Hi, Nicole. This is Mary Watts in King County, Washington, and we have a very large program here. Currently, we have about 600. Our peak was 700 before the pandemic, and just wondering if you have ideas of how this could be implemented in such a large county. The relationship building is so important, and it feels to me like it is vastly more difficult in a large county. So open to any ideas or suggestions on that.
So we did have a county here in Tennessee that implemented this that has about 300 volunteers. And their team is, of course, larger than mine. So their growth team has, I think, like 22 members. And they called it something else. So I don't remember what that was, but she individually met with all of those members and said, hey, you've been one of our best mentors so far. So they had an existing one-on-one mentor program. And of course, some of those mentors were way better than others. And so she met with some of those mentors that were doing a great job. And then some people from her group that just were doing awesome at encouraging their members and, cheering people on. And met with them and was like, I would really like to start this team and move away from one-on-one mentorship and start, a mentor program that is a group effort instead of one-on-one, and also work on retaining and helping people make connections within our group. And then again, she just followed the rest of the steps for implementing a growth team, and it's working great so far. I think it's only been like a year and a half in, and they do an awesome job. They reach out to all the interns every now and then. They reach out to other members within the group. And it really helps to have a team approach at this, because then there's a reason that they're calling, right? If they're like just cold calling other members within the group and checking on them, then that seems weird. They're like, hey, this is Joan on the growth team. I was just calling and seeing how you're doing. Then there's a reason that they're calling. Or if they're encouraging people to come, to something, there's a reason that they're doing it, right? So it kind of gives them a reason to be doing these things. And then, again, if they're planning social events, which I really think is very important for a group that large, just to get to know each other. So Mingle Games, getting to know each other. And then on the growth team, part of their intentionality is saying, hey, do you know David over here? Like, you both love daylilies, right? And so that's really happening in our growth team. They're like, hey, do you know this person? Like, you should really meet this other master gardener. And then these two people have become lifelong friends over here over daylilies, because this growth team member noticed that they had a common connection. So I really think that's really important in a group that large, and it can be very well done. Again, our group is only 300 that implemented that. That's not me, but they followed the same steps as I did, and it still works. So I don't know. I hope it works.
Any other questions, comments, or feedback?
Hey there, this is Elizabeth from Oregon, and Nicole, I think you addressed this in the chat, but my question for Rachel was, has your group made any effort to recruit volunteers from communities historically underserved by extension? Thank you.
Yes, so we did ask 2 interns that were from underserved communities that somehow found the Master Gardener program just at the library and at the farmer's market. And we asked them to join the intern growth team, and said, we would love to hear your story, your side of this story of becoming a Master Gardener. And we think it's really important to include more people from your background, your area of town, etc. And they love that. They love that we are showing, I've talked with them one-on-one about it first. They love that we are interested in bringing in more people, from their background or from their area of town. And that's really important to show that we value that in our program. And they have helped us put up flyers for the program, again, in places that we wouldn't normally reach, and, churches or schools or gyms, things, in underserved areas. and just areas that, again, they're in the growth team, but their circle of influence, their circle of people is very different from the ones that we are already reaching. And so by showing that we value that circle of influence that they have, I think that it shows that we want to be reaching those people and we need your help to do it. So we did include 2 new members on our growth team, again, that have a different circle of influence than we've ever reached before. And I think it's working pretty well. So as far as just a DEI standpoint, our diversity of our group is not very large in form of race. And this year I had 6 members of color, and typically I would maybe have 1 or 2 on our intern, trainee group. So 6 out of 22 is a leap for our group when we are in a high to mid, level of income area as a whole. So I think that was a really good way to reach new people and reach, members of color that we weren't before, different areas of income, just again, utilizing those areas of influence that you might not have had before and placing value. I'm having trouble hearing you. Sorry, Siri. I hope that answered that.
I think we were able to answer most of the questions. If anyone has additional questions or anything that we missed, please let us know. Rachel, could you send me the slides and I can share them with everyone as I send out the recording for this presentation? Yeah, thank you so much. We all learned a lot. I appreciate that, hearing some of the same experiences that you've had. I've had them in my county. I'm sure other folks can understand, the different programs and mentoring versus the growth team. I think there's a lot of opportunities, and most of us are very excited about our next classes and keeping the Master Gardener Volunteer Program growing during the pandemic. So thanks, Rachel, for your tips and for talking with us today. And I really appreciate it. Learned a lot, and you've inspired me. We start our class tomorrow. So I'm going to be thinking, who are my growth team people? All right, everyone. Thank you so much for your time today and joining us. And we hope to see you next month. I hope you all have a great rest of your week and take care. Thanks again, Rachel. Great job.
Thank you.
Bye. You're so welcome.